requires everybody speaking for probably 8 minutes. I'm sure Douglas Ross will lead the way in showing us how to do that. Douglas Ross.
Absolutely, Madam Deputy Speaker. I always follow what the match official tells us to do. Can I also say it's a pleasure to be in this chamber, to be representatives of Scottish constituents and to debate issues of importance to the people of Scotland. It's just sad that that's not what we're doing today. We are debating well, I'll take an intervention from the honourable gentleman.
I'm just asking why he turned up. He doesn't come about here that often, so why is he down here complaining about the debate he's taking part in?
Well, it's not really. It's the despicable behaviour that we've seen from the SNP throughout this debate today. The fact that they have already been warned by the Deputy Speaker for their behaviour today just shows this is a game. The Shadow Scottish Secretary was right. This is all a game to the SNP. They think this is fun. The honourable gentleman who led this for Edinburgh East is laughing. I don't find anything funny in the fact that hours of parliamentary debating time here in the UK Parliament are being dedicated to the separatist cause, not to Scotland's cause. Yeah. Because the honourable gentleman for Edinburgh East said that he spoke about immigration, he spoke about energy and he spoke about the NHS. Yes, he did, for 30 seconds. For the remainder of his 30-minute speech, it was all about division, all about separation, all about dividing Scotland all over again. And I wonder why did the honourable gentleman for Edinburgh East not want to speak more about health? Is it because this week we heard that the cancer waiting times in Scotland are at their worst ever level? They are sighing, Madam Deputy Speaker. They are barracking us for raising these issues. The honourable gentleman mentioned the NHS, but he didn't want to mention cancer waiting times in Scotland. Last week, when I raised this in the Scottish Parliament, I raised a case where someone had waited almost 2 years from diagnosis to starting treatment for cancer in Scotland. Why would that not be an important issue for us to debate in this Parliament? Today, in my own Murray area, we've finally had a report from NHS Grampian on Murray maternity services. Well, I'm sorry, if the SNP members are going to speak over me when I'm speaking about an issue... The honourable gentleman from Argyll and Bute says diddums. Say that to the Murray mums who have to travel across the A96 from Elgin to Aberdeen or Elgin to Inverness in labour in the back of an ambulance, and the proposal put forward today by NHS Grampian states that it could be up to 9 years from first of all being told that would be a temporary downgrade for a year for the full consultant-led reintroduction of maternity services in Murray. And he says diddums. I say shame on you. Shame on you.
Now, member, perhaps he's forgotten because he's got so many jobs. Perhaps he's forgotten which Parliament he's in. If he wants to make this argument, go to the Scottish Parliament where he's also a member. This is an Opposition Day debate on the transfer of the powers to have a Section 30 order or to hold a referendum on Scottish independence. And perhaps he should address that issue as opposed to the grievance which he seems to be purporting to share with us all. So why doesn't he address the issue at stake? And if I said diddums...
A little longer intervention. Douglas Ross.
Madam Deputy Speaker, it's a grievance for a Member of Parliament to raise an issue on behalf of pregnant mums and families in Murray who are struggling. And they say we can't mention the NHS in here. Well, the SNP spokesperson introducing this debate did mention the NHS. And if I remember correctly, the leader of the SNP at Westminster addressed the NHS to the Prime Minister at PMQs today. So they're quite happy to speak about the NHS when it suits their argument. They're not happy to speak about record cancer waiting times. They're not happy to speak about Murray mums struggling for almost a decade with substandard maternity services. And the Honourable Lady for Edinburgh North is waving that away. Well, I wish I could wave away the concerns of my constituents, but I can't. And they will be disappointed and, frankly, insulted by the responses from the SNP today. I'll give way to the Honourable Lady.
Honourable Gentleman for giving way. And nobody on these benches would seek to insult his constituents. And all of the issues he raises are very serious. But the reality is that we have limited powers in Scotland, and we spend those limited powers in our limited budget cleaning up the mess that his government makes and the black holes that they have created. And if we had independence and the full powers that independence would bring, we would be able to do more. Instead, we're cleaning up the mess of his government.
Health is fully devolved to the SNP Scottish Government at the moment, and the Scottish Government have a record block grant from the UK Government going to the Scottish Government, and they are wasting money hand over foot, and that's why our services, we have record cancer waiting times in Scotland. We have delayed discharge at record levels. Delayed discharge that the SNP told us they were going to get rid of 8 years ago. It's now at record levels. I'll give way one last time because the Honourable Lady wasn't taken by her own members, so I'll give way.
I appreciate him giving way. He will confirm, however, that immigration is not devolved to Scotland, and in leaving the EU because of his government's hard Brexit, we no longer are able to recruit individuals for the health service from Europe in the way that we did before. That's one of the levers. If he's not happy with how the health service is running, he can devolve the powers of immigration to allow us to do what we need.
Douglas Ross.
SNP fail when they get extra powers devolved to the Scottish Parliament, so I don't want to see them have any more because the people of Scotland suffer. The reason I am mentioning these points about health, about all the other issues we could debate in here, is because these are issues of importance to people right across Scotland. Not a single word from the SNP front bench about ferries. I heard it from the Minister, from the Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland. Why wouldn't the SNP want to speak about ferries and their dismal failure to deliver these lifeline services to our island communities? Why wouldn't the SNP want to speak about education? As others have said, once Nicola Sturgeon's #1 priority, we heard this week how dismal it is performing in Scotland under the SNP. And why haven't we heard from SNP members about Scotland's drug death shame? I do lead the opposition party in the Scottish Parliament, and I would love to take control of debating time in the Scottish Parliament to introduce a bill for right to recovery, to help people who are struggling and losing their lives in record numbers, numbers that have gone up year after year after year. There is a bill ready there, and if I get the opportunity to have debating time in the Scottish Parliament, to push something through, I would do it to do something good, to save lives. What we get here in the UK Parliament from the SNP is time wasting. They are literally wasting the time where they could be focusing on issues of importance to the people of Scotland. So I'm sorry we've had to debate this today. I'm sorry the SNP want to use all their time to stir up the division all over again. But it shows they're absolutely out of ideas on any positive message for the people of Scotland. Thank you.
Ian Blackford.